Why are we here? That's well, if you're talking philosophically.
No, like, I want to know, why did you adopt me in the first place?
Hello, welcome back to my channel, or welcome to my channel if you are new here. So Natalia Barnett was a Ukrainian orphan. She came from Ukraine to then America. She has dwarfism, so she has disabilities, you know, she is fragile and she needs help with her day-to-day activities for her to live a comfortable life. So the Barnett family adopted Natalia. Bearing in mind Natalia already was in a family before, and they claimed that Natalia was trying to hurt their children, so they wanted to give her up for adoption. This is when the Barnetts were like, oh, we have everything we need at the moment, you know, they've got all this money, these nice cars, a nice house. They already had 3 sons at the time, Jacob, Wesley and Ethan. So the parents were like, do you know what, we have room for another child.
More importantly, we were a very tight-knit family. It really was the pinnacle of...
Claimed it was a close adoption, and they went to go and wait for Natalia to come. They were all super excited, they were looking forward to meeting her, and they waited in the adoption centre. So Natalia comes running out and hugs them, calls them mum and dad already. Of course, they're over the moon. Bear in mind, the mum Christine never once interviewed during the series. She refused, which is strange. The dad did, Michael Barnett. So, even though they claim to be this happy family, the happiness only lasted 4 months when Natalia was in their care. Everything was going okay. She seemed to be getting in, like fitting in with the family, she was going to school. And then all of a sudden things just changed for the worse. Things were starting to not make sense and things were starting to go wrong. It first started when they took Natalia to Disney World. She claimed that she saw her old family, adopted family. They were like, oh my god, look, it's mum. Christine, who was her current adopted mum at the time, said, that's not your mum, I'm your mum now. That's not your mum anymore. Natalia was like, oh yeah, sorry. So she remembers this memory so clear, and remembers the Barnett family looking over and seeing her other family. But the Barnetts to this day still claimed it was a close adoption, we never met them, we never saw them, don't even know their names. But later on, we find out they're lying. I will reveal all in a bit. So they go back to the hotel room and Christine's giving Natalia a bath. And then she just screams out loud, calling the dad in. She's like, Michael, get in here right now. So Michael was like, what's going on? So he runs in and Christine said, look down. Because Michael looks down. Natalia is obviously not dressed and they see pubic hair. So she's meant to be 6 years old at this time, so they're like, what's going on? When I first heard that, I was like, well, some girls can start their periods younger and mature quicker than others. So I wasn't really too concerned about that. I was like, okay. And she had a period as well. Okay, that's rare, but again, girls can start young, but they were freaked out by this. They were so freaked out, they started accusing Natalia of being an adult.
Christine asked Natalia to tell me what's going on.
Natalia, tell Dad what happened. Okay.
Which is where this whole case blew up. She's a 6-year-old girl, and because she's got her period, are thinking, who is she? She's not who she says she is. So they start accusing Natalia of being an adult. She's like, I'm not an adult, I'm a child, I'm a kid. Like, where's this even come from? So now they're, you could say, concerned. They question her about it. Christine's like, Natalia, what's this? She was like, it's my period. And she was so scared, Natalia, that she tried to hide it from them. Okay, why would she hide it, some ask? Well, she's a child who's come from a Ukrainian orphan. She suffered abuse there. She was neglected by her adopted mother who didn't want her, Anna. The doctors basically knew that she wouldn't be able to walk properly and had all these disabilities, so like, just give her up, you have more kids. So she did just that. They tracked down her adopted mother, who was able to confirm her age. She was a child. She was born 4th September 2003. The Barnetts didn't believe this. They were so fixated on this crazy idea. She was an adult, was an intruder in their home, or some sort of scam artist. They felt threatened. So they go home, and then one day, claim that Natalia starts acting out. She's getting aggressive, she's making threats to kill the whole family, she's hurting their sons, she is apparently hiding all their toys that they love, throwing them into the road so that they would run out in front of the road and try to get them hit by a car, basically. Now, later on in the episode, Natalia denies all claims of this. She said they're lying, they're making it all up. I loved the boys, I wanted the Barnetts to be my family, I thought this was going to be my home, I was happy. Why are they making lies about me? And then they start claiming that they find knives under her bed. Now, that is crazy from a 6-year-old, but it makes you think, is it self-defense? Because she claimed to suffer abuse from the hands of Christine, and the dad, Michael, let it happen. Although he claims to be a victim in this whole story, the way he acts on these videos, in the interviews, is very, like, it's just weird. He's very dramatic, very over the top. Oh, don't punish me, don't arrest me, I was a victim too. And yeah, it's just very strange how he's so defensive and isn't owning up to his responsibilities. As a dad, he should have been looking after Natalia. He claims I
didn't stand up to that woman. I could today.
his wife is the monster and is evil, and they ended up having divorce, and things turned nasty and sour. Michael claims in these interviews that he didn't know most of what Christine did to Natalia. He only knew certain things, but he let it happen. He was a witness, he was a bystander, and he didn't step in to help. His claims were she was the devil, she was evil, she earned all the letters, I couldn't stand up to her, she was controlling, manipulative, she was a narcissist, and yeah, really sort of threw her under the bus. And I was like, is this true? Because Christine isn't here to give her side of the story or to defend herself. But it later revealed she did an interview for the press and said all these claims were false. And that Natalia was an adult. There's Michael, the dad, being very dramatic, very theoretic and just over the top with his stories, which makes me think, you've planned this. You have planned this. You know in your head what you're going to say and you're going to defend yourself. He doesn't want to go down for this. Now, he claims one night he woke up to Natalia at the end of his bed holding a knife, and she said, I'm going to kill you all. They turned lights on, like, Natalia, what are you doing? Get back to your room now. Give me the knife, which she did, and she went back to her room. Michael claims that They were terrified for their life. And he sat outside her room making sure she didn't leave and do other weird things. Now, if you have 3 young sons, bearing in mind they were all under the age of 10 when this all went down, why didn't they call the police? Why? Is it because they're lying? Or did they think they could help her? They did go to therapy, counselling, professionals, tried everything. And apparently they all said, we can't help you. Take her home. Which is weird. If you had 3 young kids and you were scared for your life and your family, why not call the police? Regardless of age, even if a child was carrying knives, you'd be shitting yourself. So things don't add up. The story's already just weird. So, in the interviews later in the documentary, Natalia claims she never held knives. She went to her kitchen and held a knife, and obviously because she's got, a disability, she can't grip. So even if she wanted to kill someone, she couldn't. She doesn't have the strength to, which we can see in that video, which I believe her. But apparently she went to a psychiatric hospital. Bearing in mind she was a child, she was put in the adult section. Now, why? Why was she put in the adult section, you ask? Let me tell you. So, they have this birth certificate from Natalia with her date of birth, 4th September 2003, making her 9 years old when she went to live with the Barnetts. The Barnetts were so hell-bent on her being an adult. They were like, look at her, she talks and acts like an adult. Just her mannerisms, she has adult teeth, which you don't have when you're a child. But the thing is, I think she was just growing up and maturing a lot quicker than the usual child. Dentist, I did all the tests, and the producers of the show were like interviewing this dentist and asked to look at her dental records. Can you tell us, when Natalia came in to the dentist, how old was she? He shows us the scan of her teeth. Baby teeth. They're baby teeth. She was a child. The Barnetts knew this. They had these records. They had these dental records. Why did they change her age legally? It's mad. They aged her from 9-year-old to a 22-year-old. To a 22-year-old because they thought she was an adult. But yet she was proven to be a child, and they knew this, and they still were so hell-bent on this idea that she wasn't who she said she was. A lot of abuse took place in the Barnett family home. Michael claims he didn't know anything, but Natalia, in her interviews, said Christine was the main person who did it all. Michael stood and watched. But Natalia did confirm there were things that Michael didn't see. So what abuse took place? So from Christine, she wanted Natalia to read. She's a child, she can't do that. She can't read. She could read some words, but she's not up to par with an adult. Natalia, I want you to read every single word. She was like, but I can't. I want you to do these math questions, but I can't. She was so hell-bent on wanting her to be this miracle child that they claim she wanted to look like a perfect mum because their eldest son Jacob was this genius at his age. And Christine was like, oh, that's all me and my parenting. I did that. I made him a genius. I turned him into one. I want to do it again. And I want to look like a good parent because I adopted a poor orphan who has dwarfism. She's been through trauma, so I want to help her. So she tried to turn Natalia into this genius, which she wasn't. So of course, doing all these exams and questions, she was like, I can't do it. I can't do it. I'm only a kid. I can't do it. Christine didn't like this answer. So she got pepper spray. Sprayed Natalia straight in the eyes. Said, keep your eyes open right now. She was trying to rub it out. She was screaming. She's like, don't you dare wash that out your eyes until I tell you to. Every single time Natalia refused to do something or wasn't up to Christine's standards, she'd get pepper sprayed. Christine was abusive to Natalia. And then came the incidents with the poisoning. So Christine was doing the dishes, cleaning the kitchen, and Natalia said, "Can I help you?" She was like, "Of course." So she pulls up a stool, starts cleaning the worktop, and then Christine leaves the room for a minute and then walks back in and screams. At this time, Michael was in the house, a few rooms down. So Christine screams. Michael comes running in, and Christine said, "Natalia, why did you put poison in my cup? Why did you put bleach in my cup?" It was like washing up, like cleaning spray in her coffee. And Natalia said, "I didn't." She was like, "Well, it tastes like it and it smells like it, so you tried to poison me." Michael, obviously, at this point, believed Natalia was crazy and a psycho. And Natalia's claim later on in the interview said that's not how the story went down. The first bit was correct, of them cleaning and her helping her. Natalia was left in the kitchen while Christine left. She comes back and there was her coffee mug next to where she was cleaning, so she moved it out of the way. Didn't put anything in her cup, and then Christine came back, poured the bleach product into her coffee in front of Natalia, and then screamed. And that's when Michael came in. She would also do things on camera to try and make it look like she's recorded Natalia doing stuff by forcing her to do it. And she was like, "I don't want to." She goes, "Do you want me to pepper spray you?" If she denied and refused, she'd get pepper sprayed. So of course she was scared. She was going to obey. She was scared of Christine. So Christine's like, "Oh, I got all the photo evidence, I got all the video evidence of her doing this." But she made Natalia do it out of fear. She was controlling, she was nasty, manipulative. And then came the children, her other children, the boys. Natalia claimed they started being horrible to her. Jacob, the eldest son, was interviewed. And you could see how he knew his mum wasn't perfect, but he refused to say some things to keep her safe, keep hush-hush, keep her name not dragged through the mud more than it already has been. He claimed Natalia was peeing everywhere, in places that she shouldn't. She was told not to and kept doing it. So Jacob said that his mum told him go and pee in her bed. He claimed he wasn't made to, he wasn't forced to, but his mum told him to do it. Was he forced to? Was he threatened with pepper spray just like Natalia? So he peed in her bed. He started crying and said he felt really bad for it and felt sorry and wished he didn't do it because it was disgusting, obviously. But it makes you wonder, how much control did Christine have over this family? It just doesn't make sense. They still believe she's an adult. They go and legally get her age changed. Why? Her birth certificate says she's a child and you're not believing it. So once she's now 22, she's suddenly skipped all her childhood and has been dragged out of school because apparently Christine has said she's been running over kids with her wheelchair. She's a nuisance to the teachers, although the teachers in the interview claimed she wasn't like this at all. Natalia doesn't know why she's been dragged out of school, and she is now being put into her own apartment by herself. But she's 22, right? It's fine. It's legal. It's perfectly legal, even though she was a kid. So she moves to Westfield. She was in Indiana with her Barnett family, so now she's in Westfield. She's dumped there. She is a child who has to fend for herself, and she's just been abandoned in this place she doesn't even know. She wasn't told about it and just left. The only time Christine ever came round to visit her was to drop food off. But Natalia was without food for a very long time. She could have died there. Anything could have happened to her. She could have been robbed, she could have been essayed, anything. So she started talking to the neighbours. And at first the neighbours were like, well, why is this little kid being dropped off? Where are your parents? But, the dad came in to check on her every now and then, but he'd come and wipe her phone contacts clean. She'd get numbers from her neighbours, and Christine was like, you need to go and do that. You need to clear it. She was left without electricity, without heating, without aircon, And Michael was like, why didn't you tell me about this? Everyone's now questioning. So he'd go and sort Christine's problems out. Christine didn't care. She didn't care. So now the neighbours are like, well, where's your mum? Bearing in mind they only ever saw Christine once and the dad a few times to drop her food off. Natalia was like, I'm not a kid. I'm an adult, I'm 22 years old. So of course they believed her. Even though the neighbours were like, she looks like a child, but she talks and acts like an adult. So something's not right here. She became a nuisance, Natalia. She would go in and out of people's homes, uninvited, just wanting to talk. Bearing in mind she was a lonely child, didn't know what she was doing. She couldn't look after herself. She smelled, her hair was all knotty and mangled. She had the same clothes on for days. This was a child who couldn't look after herself. She couldn't wash and clean and didn't know how to. She wasn't shown this. She was just dumped and left. It got to the point where the neighbours were like, this is becoming a problem. Like, Natalia, you can't come in. You can't be stealing our food. She'll just go to their fridges open and eat all their food. And she was like, I didn't know this at the time, that it was wrong. I didn't know personal boundaries. In her interview she said, I probably was a bit invasive and I'm sorry, but I was a kid just left by myself. What was she meant to do? To a point where one of the neighbours called the police because they were like, this is a kid, this isn't right. She's without food, she isn't looked after, she has obviously dwarfism, disability, she needs help. Even if she was an adult with those disabilities, that she needed help. So, then the dad was like, we need to do something about this. The neighbours are getting suspicious. So dad goes over and he questions Natalia. And he records this, and this is in the interviews on the show. Who you been speaking to? Why? Where's your phone? What have you said? Have you said anything about me? Have you said anything about Christine? And she's just there like, confused, no. And then he's like, where did these donuts come from? We didn't buy you these donuts. She said, I found them in the cupboard. He was like, let's go and have a look on the date, shall we? Oh, they're fresh, they're new. Who's been round? She said, Sue from across the road, she's nice. She was just giving me donuts because she knew I was hungry. So at this point he knew that Christine wasn't looking after her. She had no money. Natalia had no money. The neighbours were coming round to check on her, which should have been the parents' job. There were text exchanges between Michael and Christine, and they were like, something's got to change because they're getting suspicious. But it got to the point where the manager of the building had so many complaints about Natalia just turning up, and people were being freaked out by it. They said she's a bit creepy, she's invasive, she's walking into their homes, and they're having to, when they pull up in their car, quickly run into the house because Natalia would be like looking out her window and would run across the street when they pulled up. So I guess you could say they felt like they were being stalked by her because she knew when they'd get home. There was another instance with another neighbour, an elder lady who claimed that something happened between Natalia and one of the men in the I guess it's like the laundrette room. There was this man who was doing his laundry and Natalia was apparently making sexual advances to him, saying, I can do things for money. The man was creeped out by this and left quickly. Said he never wants to be left alone with her ever again. Natalia had a different version of events. in her interview, she claimed she went knocking on all her neighbours' doors, and there was this man who answered and invited her in. He was in the nude, and she felt uncomfortable. And she was like, "What are you watching on TV?" And she claimed he was watching a sexual video, And was like, "Can we watch something else?" He was like, No, it's fine, keep watching." She sat on the sofa. He didn't do anything to her, luckily. But was like, keep watching. This man was naked. She said it scarred her for life. She was traumatised and she wanted to get the hell out of there. And he let her go, and that was her story. She said she never once made any sexual advances to anyone. It got to the point where Natalia was kicked out of her apartment. And Christine was like, "Great, we need to find her another apartment." We moved her to a rundown town called, I don't know if I'm pronouncing this right, Levette. She was on the second floor. This little girl couldn't walk properly. She couldn't get upstairs properly, and she had to go up 12 flights of stairs. This was a challenge for her. Why didn't Christine look after her? Even as an adult, you can see she needed help. Again, the same thing happened. She didn't have much food, she was lonely, she was walking the streets by herself, and it's a rundown place with lots of crime. Did the Barnetts care? No. So again, she was talking to neighbours, and she knew she wasn't liked very much. They said she was weird, and a lot of people believe she was an adult. But it makes you wonder, why? How did this 6-year-old girl become so adult-like? Because she looked like a child. Christine was probably brainwashing her and making her say, "You got to act like this, you do this." Because in her claims, Natalia said, "Christine made me say I was 22 years old if anyone asked my age." So of course she was scared of Christine. She obeyed instantly. Because if she didn't, she'd get pepper sprayed or she'd get beaten. She already claimed she was beaten by a belt in the Barnett family home. There was an incident where she was playing with one of the guy's sons. He was the same age as her, about at this point, maybe they were like 9 or 10. She'd been alone by herself for quite some time, maybe like a year or two, probably longer. And then she moved to this new place. Natalia claims they were just on the ground, tickling each other, rolling around, doing what kids do. And then the dad came running over, going, "What are you doing with my son? Get away from him." This caused like a massive, whoa, and lots of neighbours flipped over. And a few claimed that this wasn't the case. They were tickling each other, but more went on, and Natalia made sexual advances on this little boy and was a bit touchy-feely. Didn't do anything to him, but was a bit... like they were worried they were going to. They were like, "Natalia, what are you doing? Get off of him, get off of him." Natalia said that's not the case at all. I don't know why they're lying about this or where this accusation has come from. She didn't know anything about, sex, and she was a kid, so if she did say something sexual, she would have picked it up from someone older thinking it was okay to say it. Bearing in mind this little girl came from Ukraine, or a Ukraine orphan, and she said it's a bit fuzzy, her memory there, but a lot of stuff happened and she was abused. God knows what happened to her, so she probably thought it was okay. Not justifying her actions. But then it makes me go back to when she was in this psychiatric hospital with the Barnetts. Put her there. And they were like, they called the Barnetts, like, "You need to come back and get her because she's making sexual advances to all the men in there." She was a 6-year-old child. Apparently she was getting on tables, teasing them. All the men were like, "Oh yeah, getting excited or whatever." And there were even voice interviews from nurses in there that claimed that this happened. But Natalia said that never happened. "I wasn't around any men in there. I wasn't in there for very long. I don't know why, but I was sent back home. They couldn't help her or fix her." So, was she about to be essayed and the nurses were covering their back and their story and made it out like she was crazy? Or did it happen and Natalia forgot about it because she was a child and her memory was a bit and maybe she thought it was okay and was used to it back in the orphan, and someone told her it's okay to do these things, because children pick up on, you know, a lot of things, which just is strange, because why would a 6-year-old offer men money for sex? It just, something's off. Yeah, so there are lots of claims and lies about Natalia, and she's just like, that didn't happen. That, going back to the knife situation, when Michael Barnett said that she was stood at the end of his bed with a knife, and she said no, I wasn't. When that interview took place, she was about 19, 20. She said no, it didn't happen, because they met up together and she wanted answers. She wanted to know why her age was changed to 22. Bearing in mind, obviously, after you're 21, you can legally are allowed to be by yourself. So that's probably why they did that, to try and get rid of her. They didn't want her anymore. That maybe she was, with all her trauma, maybe she was a bit naughty and kicking out a little bit, which is understandable if you've been through what she has. But there is an interview where Natalia is much younger, shortly after these claims happened. The interviewer said, "Tell me about the knives." Natalia, you can see, said, "I used to hide knives around the house. I put one under the fridge and I can't remember where else." So she admitted to hiding knives. Now, was that because Natalia forgot her chain of lies and events over the years, and she was like, oh crap, I forgot about all the knives? Or when she was a child, was she lying about it and brainwashed and made to say she had knives to make Christine and Michael's lies about her and accusations true? Well, Christine and Michael said this, so because Natalia confirmed their allegations, it must be true, because she was a child. So maybe that's why Natalia doesn't remember it, and now she's like, oh, actually, they made me say that. They made me look like I was the bad person. Bearing in mind, Michael and all this was like, oh, I didn't mean to do it. He's all like, Christine did this, Christine did that. Don't come at me, you know. It went to trial, it went to court, and he wasn't found guilty. He was not found guilty. But he knew a lot of stuff that happened to Natalia. But she asked him, why did you age me? And he deflected. He avoided that question. He said to the producers, oh, I told you, I'm not allowed to talk about this. And to his defence attorney who was sitting there, he obviously told him before, avoid this question. Probably for legal reasons, that probably would have got him arrested. He couldn't say. So Natalia never got her answers or why they aged her to 22 years old. It's all weird. Someone's lying here. I found another family. The man's family. She was eventually adopted and she was really happy, over the moon. They also adopted 11 other children, so she was able to live her childhood that she never had. Going back to what I said earlier about the lies that Michael and Christine told about the adopted parents before them. I think there was a defence attorney for Natalia during the court trials. Emails between the Barnetts and her adopted parents before, I don't know if I'm pronouncing it right, Kiskan, I don't know, talking about the adoption. But the Barnetts claimed it was a closed adoption. Michael said no, we never saw them when we were waiting to adopt you. And Natalia said, well, I saw them. I saw you talking to them. You were in the same room as them. Why is her memory so distinctive? Why does she remember that so well? Why would she lie about that? Then why would the Barnetts lie about not meeting them? Why? Still to this day, it was a closed adoption to them, but it wasn't. They knew the name. This attorney provided evidence of that. So why? Okay, it's because Natalia was 22 years old. They weren't allowed to use her real age. as evidence. She had to go in this trial as an adult. They weren't allowed to mention her age. So all the people in the stand, all the jurors didn't know her real age. They weren't given this. They weren't provided this crucial, important bit of information. So of course Michael Barnett wasn't charged, because in the eyes of the law, legally, she was 22, not a child. The case would have ended so much differently, because it would have gone down as child neglect, and he neglected her. But either way, she was a dependent, so the way that he got away with it still baffles me, because she was in that house, in the apartment, for so long, with without the essential basic needs. The Barnetts claimed there were shops nearby, but she had no money for transport. She could have walked, but she was only small. So either way, they neglected this child who had disabilities. But in the eyes of the law, because she was legally of age, it doesn't matter, it doesn't apply, it's void and null. So, was Natalia innocent in all this? I don't think she is. Whilst I do think, I believe everything she said in regards to all the abuse that happened. She was a child, she was proven to be a child, her age is now back to where it should be. Because of all the trauma that she went through, I do think maybe she did act out and she did threaten, because she was just defending herself. And when you go through so much trauma and horrible things, it's expected. I'm not trying to justify her behaviours, because I do feel sorry for her and I just want to give her a hug. But with the whole knife thing, I think she was brainwashed and made to say that. It's still a lot of loose ends and mysteries surrounding that. And the Barnetts have been caught out in a lie, so why are they lying? And in another interview with Michael, he said, a few years before him and Natalia had their interview, he said there are things that he didn't know that was going on with Natalia, which may be true, but there are things that he did know. So there are things he claimed that he knew, but when it came to Natalia's interview with him, he lied to her and said, I didn't know that happened. So I was just like, okay, there are still some things that didn't make sense. There are still some lies that aren't ever probably going to come to light. Natalia was adopted by the man's family, was adopted and was happy and everything was good. And then at the end of the documentary series, it said about 4 months after she was adopted, they called the producers, the parents, saying that they don't want nothing to do with Natalia and she's living with some friends now and she isn't who she says she is. She's very good at hiding her emotions and only pretending to feel things when she needs to, and she only cares about herself. Which I'm just like, that's very odd. It's very strange. Why would they say that? Why would this happen? Was Natalia playing them the whole time? Did they just have an argument and they wanted to be nasty about her, knowing everything that's gone down with her past and all the abuse and suffer she's had to endure? So my verdict of the Natalia case, I do believe she suffered abuse at the hands of the Barnetts. Whilst I do think that Christine is the main culprit, I do think Michael had a lot of play in it and he was acting the victim and playing up to the cameras, getting a sob story out there, making him look like the victim. But I do think that he could have stepped up and been the dad that he should have been and stopped this. There's still no final answers on why they changed her age from a 9-year-old to 22, knowing she was a child. There's still no real reason why they adopted her and then did all this stuff to her. Whilst I do think Natalia has gone through a lot and I feel for her, I don't think she's 100% the victim. I do think she probably did and said some things that she shouldn't have, but not the whole threatening to kill and gonna stab and kill everyone. I do think that was made up for whatever reason, I don't know. I do think she suffered a lot at the hands of these adoptive families and she deserves better. and she was neglected as a child, and she has a lot of healing to do, and I wish her all the best, and I hope she gets some justice that she deserves, because no one went down for this. The Barnetts weren't charged, so it's still a case that remains open. I hope you guys liked the video. If you did, please give it a like and subscribe. I will be doing more on Mondays. Again, Mystery Makeup Mondays on different cases. There might be some like murder stories in there, some paranormal, some supernatural and weird unexplained. So I hope you guys have a nice day, whatever it is you're doing, and I shall see you all soon. Bye!